Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I have gathered here today with my little creaking friend, and we are going to be extorting him for free manual labor. Quite the beautiful sight, quite the trade we have going on. I offer you life, and you give me free blocks and your undying, unwavering service. Really great, really epic. And yeah, basically we have made a auto clicker AFK resin farm, which is really great. We just sit here hitting away at the creaking who cannot move because we're staring at him, and he will send resin clumps on over, which will get broken by the pistons and drop down into a hopper, into a chest. And yeah, it's working really good. But we're going to break down what exactly is resin, what is it used for, and how do we get all of the blocks needed to build this farm, and how does the farm work exactly. I'm going to break it all down in depth. But thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of Heim, and this is going to really help us with future builds. And, you know, resin's awesome. It's a beautiful block, so we could honestly incorporate it into builds as decoration as well, not just for the utility that it brings. This is basically the little clump that we're going to be harvesting from our creaking friend, and you can place it on any block. You can make it look like berries and trees. You can use it as texture on blocks. I really like using it in the pale oak trees because I think it looks really cool. Like there's some kind of exotic fruit that's growing out of it. It adds a little bit of pop and contrast against the really like, you know, gray muted colors of the leaves there. You can use it as floor decoration like this, you know, add a little speckle pattern going on, and then it also turns into blocks of resin, which is useful as well, because it's basically like a very nice construction block. You can place it and break it instantly for builds, which is really nice. You could also be using the resin clumps for a spleef game because they're an insta break block, so they're really easy to clean up and collect. To start off making this farm, you're going to have to find a dark oak forest that has a pale oak forest attached to it, which is a very small percentage chance. To find a creaking heart, we're going to have to wait for nightfall, so just make sure you get some pale oak saplings and some of the unique blocks while you're here because it's a hassle to find this biome. This biome is also known for having the brand new unique flower, and it changes based off of the time of day, and during nighttime it opens up and becomes super beautiful and lights up. And I'm definitely going to be collecting those while we're searching for the creaking heart here. But to find the creaking heart, you're going to want to prepare for war. This is one of the most dangerous biomes in the game. The creaking is going to attack you when you have your back turned, and then it also spawns in basically all of the regular mobs, creepers, zombies, skeletons, spiders. So it's pretty intense and you can get swarmed really easily. Make sure you have a good adequate set of armor and tools on you. But basically hit the creaking and follow the orange dots to a tree and then break open the tree until you find a glowing orange creaking heart and use something with silk touch. A silk touch axe will get rid of it way faster than the silk touch scythe, but the silk touch scythe is still pretty handy. You can also use the crafting recipe of 2 pale oak logs and a resin block if you have that on hand, but if not, it's kind of easier to just find one naturally by hitting the creaking, just because getting a full block of resin is a little hard at first, just because you'd have to hit the creaking and harvest it from the trees over and over again. Now that we've got our creaking heart, that is the most important part of the puzzle for making the resin farm, because that's how we are going to spawn in our little creaking friend for manual labor. It's up 28 in the air, and we also built our resin farm over an ocean just because that's where we have our creeper farm, our squid and ink farm, and it's all over this ocean, and it's all just super ugly. It's not like civilized at all out here, and it's just kind of a farm area. And also, another reason we are building over an ocean is to keep the creaking from spawning anywhere else except for in the farm. So we're going to build a 5x5 square, and it's going to be up a half a block from the scaffolding here, so that way we can keep the creaking from spawning on our AFK platform. And now we're going to want to actually build a spawning platform for the creaking, so we're going to have to go and get a block in line with a Y value, because when we half slab out the floors, it'll keep any mobs from spawning in. But now that we have this right here in line with a Y value, we're going to be able to have a platform in which our creaking will spawn during the nighttime once we put down our creaking heart. So we're going to just flesh out this platform a little bit. And I'm going to show you guys also how exactly the creaking heart works here in a second, so you can figure out how to spawn in the creaking. But basically you're going to want to run the logs in the same direction as the creaking heart. And then if you have a log on either side, top or bottom, left or right, and they're all running the same direction, it's going to open up and turn orange. That means the creaking heart is activated, and a creaking will spawn once nighttime comes. Okay, so the creaking actually did spawn in once nightfall hit, and he spawned on the platform that we made in level with the Y value, so everything's working according to plan, but we're going to want to try and capture him off to the left-hand side, so that way we can have an AFK hitting area for the farm, and it'll send over the resin clumps to the actual log of the tree. For this section of the farm, we're going to want to extend it out 3 blocks away from our center square here. And that way we're going to have room for the creaking to spawn in. Okay, it's time to make our collection system. So we're going to want to put down 3 different layers of pistons, and that's what's actually going to harvest the resin off of the blocks. And we're going to just place them all so they're in line and would extend out against the actual pale oak log. Off to the side here, literally directly in line with our pale creaking heart, we are making a time clock, and this is how we're going to start our farm. We're going to put down a redstone torch and break it super fast, and it's going to trigger our clock. And right now we only have it paired to the bottom of our pale oak logs here. So we're going to have to build it up real quick so it also is triggering the top 2 pistons as well. And that is honestly all there is to it, to making this farm. Is so easy and simple. That's how you're going to start the farm up, is putting the torch down. I'm going to put a slab on top of where you actually put the torch down to start up the farm, just to keep the creaking from spawning in. But boom, all 3 pistons are pumping. So now, once we get our containment area for the creaking done, he's going to send over resin clumps to the logs, and then the pistons are going to work, and they're going to get rid of the resin clumps, and it's going to drop down for us to collect. I'm going to put a chest down over here off to the side, just so that way I can have redstone torches in place, so that way I can start up the farm whenever I need to. I'm building the containment area for the creaking. We're building up 5 blocks from the base level of the containment area, and then we're going to be slabbing off the roof here. That way nothing is spawning on top of our creaking, and that way our creaking can't spawn on the roof as well. So we're going to just slab it all out up here so he doesn't spawn on top of the glass. We're making the containment field out of glass so we can have a line of sight on the creaking and see if he's actually spawning into the containment area as he's supposed to. So we're going to get all of this squared away and see if he actually will spawn into the containment area during the middle of the night. Make sure to put a slab on top of the pale oak logs, and then also try and slab out around the logs as well, so that way it keeps resin from spawning. Eureka, baby! Moment of truth, and bada bing bada boom. We've got ourselves a creaking friend. How pleasant, how beautiful. He won't look at me because he's shy, and he doesn't like the life that is in store ahead of him, but I sure appreciate the life in store ahead of him. And let's just do a little test run here. Let's see if it's working. Okay, I'm gonna smack this guy up, and he's gonna try and pay us off to stop the violence, but it's not gonna work, and it's just gonna encourage me to keep shaking him down. Let that be a lesson to all of you. If you give in to the people who are extorting you, they're just gonna extort you for more. Okay, the last part, let's open up right below our pistons, and let's place a beautiful double chest. And this is what we're actually going to be using to collect all of our resin clumps. So let's get this chest. Ooh, I got a nice catch there. Let's go. Get our double chest in place. And now with our resin blocks placed, let's get the hoppers ran into the back of the chest. And we have to do that by facing the back of the chest. Now we can just break our resin because they're insta-break, which is a huge reason I like them for construction. You can just branch off of scaffolding super easily and then just clean up, break them, collect them back, They're super reusable, super easy to harvest because now we have a farm. We don't have to worry about the ones we dropped. And look at that. It's pushing all of the potential resin clumps towards the hoppers there, and both of the hoppers are leading into the double chest. So let's just kind of seal this off so that way all of the resin is trapped and will fall into the hoppers, and let's give this a good old whirl. Apparently glass is going to keep the creaking from spawning on it. Half slabs were also supposed to keep the creaking from spawning, so I'm a little confused why he was spawning on the roof of the farm, but now that we've got it all switched out to glass, the problem should be solved. Ladies and gentlemen, we have lined the entire ceiling with glass, and we put black carpet across it, and we also covered up our redstone mechanics over here, and we covered it with some carpet as well. I was having this stupid little creaking spawn on the roof of the farm, and he was also spawning on the actual redstone components, but now that I've roofed it all off with glass and put some carpet on it, it seems as though he is finally trapped. So let's beat this guy up and see how much money we can get from him. Alright, we successfully hit the creaking the entire night, so let's see how much pocket change we hit out of him. We got about 3.5 stacks of resin from one night of doing the AFK farm, so I would say this is a job well done, and we're going to be able to have resin for days for the Pale Oak Village. So if you guys found this farm useful, hit that like and subscribe button to stay tuned for some more Heimcraft episodes.